All right, welcome everyone. For the next 45 minutes, we'll be looking at security awareness predictions for 2025 and covering topics like AI, NIS2, and culture. First off, let's go through some housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded. The recording and the slide deck will be shared with you later today. Please use the Q&A feature to post questions to the panel. We might answer your questions directly in the chat or save them for the Q&A at the end of the webinar. If you still have any questions after the webinar, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn or to the panel and my colleagues. If you still have any questions after the webinar, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn. All right, now that we have that covered, let's move on to introductions. My name is Elliot Baker, and I will be your host today. First off, joining us today is Hanna Raitanen, who leads the Cybersecurity Awareness Team at DNV Cyber, the independent expert in assurance and risk management based in Finland. We're happy to partner with the DNV Cyber team for today's webinar. So, Hanna, would you like to take a minute to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about DNV Cyber?
So thanks for the invite and having me today here. My name is Hanna Raitanen. I'm coming from DNV Cyber, which is part of the bigger organization DNV. And together with my team, we build cybersecurity awareness training programs to our customers worldwide.
Great to have you here, Hanna. Next, we have Ian Littlefair joining us, who works in IT risk, security, and compliance at Venator Materials based in the UK, and he is a longtime Hoxhunt customer. Ian, want to take a minute to introduce yourself and share how long you've been using Hoxhunt?
Sure, yeah, thanks for having me. I've been working at Venator Materials now for the past 6 years. We're primarily a European-based titanium dioxide manufacturer. As you've said, I'm responsible for the kind of risk and security program here, and part of that was building a cybersecurity culture in the organization, and Hoxhunt was kind of an integral part of doing that. I've been a customer of theirs since 2021 now, so yeah.
Okay, so a veteran of Hoxhunt and a veteran of the IT risk security compliance.
Absolutely.
Okay, and last and certainly not, Maxime Cartier, who works to develop leading human risk mitigation strategies here at Hoxhunt. Maxime, want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Hi, Elliot, and hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here today. I'm Maxime. I'm a long-time security awareness specialist. I've contributed or driven programs for Fortune 500 companies in manufacturing and retail, for example, and I'm today the head of human risk at Hoxhunt, as Elliot said, to help to develop the product and fill the needs of next generation human risk management programs.
Great, thank you, Maxime. On the agenda today, we have opportunities and challenges of AI and cyber, implications of cybersecurity regulations, and how to build a strong security culture in 2025. So let's kick off AI and cybersecurity. So, Hanna, I'm sure you field lots of questions about AI from DNV clients. What are some of the biggest risks in how AI can be exploited for malicious purposes? And what can organizations do to defend against AI-powered tactics?
Good. Thank you. So indeed, we got a lot of questions about that. So when basically we consider especially the human behavior of the risk of AI, it is good to remember that the bad actors and cyber criminals are more equipped than ever before due to artificial intelligence. They exploit brutally AI to launch cyber attacks, for example. They manipulate AI tools to clone voices, generate fake identities, deepfakes, create convincing phishing emails with intent to scam, spread false narratives, hack, steal a person's identity, or compromise their privacy and security. AI also represents a risk for an organization without a proper AI policy or rules that provides employees with guidelines how to use the AI in their workplace. It basically informs them what types of AI tools they can use and how they may or may not use it in their work. And basically, The AI risks threaten security and trust, of course, requiring attention to mitigation as well. That includes both advanced cybersecurity technologies, but above all, consideration of the human risks. And this requires actually continuous and proactive awareness training and communication across the entire organization to mitigate these risks.
Thank you for that, Hanna. So that's a great summary of the Black Hat application of Gen AI. Maxime, what about the White Hat? What are some of the biggest opportunities to use AI for good? How can it help organizations actually mitigate risk and improve defenses?
Yeah, AI is honestly probably the biggest disruptor I've seen in this field since I started working. But yeah, we can't see AI only as a risk. It's also a huge opportunity for security teams and also for platforms like Hoxhunt. For example, one of the cornerstones of a successful security awareness program is to have interventions that are both continuous, but also personalized for each employee, based on their needs, based on their behaviors, their culture, their skill level, their learning preferences. We should kind of show them what they need in a format that they enjoy, in opposition to sending the same one-size-fits-all training to everyone. We simply learn best when we're taught what is relevant to us personally and at work. But how can, a single person or even a small team working with security awareness in an organization understand every person working in the company and create thousands and thousands of individually targeted interventions? The only way to do that is with AI. AI is a fantastic enabler for that, as we see today that it allows us to create not only more content, but more personalized, more relevant content for everyone. At Hoxhunt, for example, we've started to generate unique phishing simulations with AI. They're created on the go for a single user and sent automatically. And they're now starting to even perform better than our human-created simulations, which means that we can teach employees about how to detect the most advanced social engineering techniques faster than ever.
Thank you for that, Maxime. Great stuff. Ian, I'd love for you to weigh in. How have you and your team thought about and approached AI so far? Whether it's concern over malicious AI attacks or using AI to mitigate risk, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts as a practicing cybersecurity leader.
Yeah, going back to something Hanna touched on, actually, we were really concerned primarily around the misuse of AI. There was a lot of hype amongst our users for the new technology and a lot of people using AI models with abandon and not really understanding the risks associated with those AI tools, and particularly with public models, uploading potentially sensitive data to them that could then be used to train models. And you've potentially got a data leakage scenario there if that's exposed to people not inside your organization. So, how do you enable the benefits of AI technologies, upskilling users or automating some tasks using AI whilst still protecting the business, its people, its data? So we started with a really good focus on improving our governance and developing training packages for people to kind of understand how to use AI responsibly.
Okay, that's great. So the next question I want to pose is to the whole group, and that's, how do you see AI evolving in 2025? What emerging trends will our attendees see and need to be prepared for this year? Let's go ahead and start with Ian.
Yeah, so I think that increased sophistication of social engineering attacks that Hanna was alluding to earlier will kind of hit more of the general populace. I think as Fish becomes more convincing, using AI to generate convincing body text in different languages, you're not going to be able to have users or your analysts relying on those traditional red flags of poor grammar and spelling. They're going to have a lot more awareness of contextual cues and the kind of psychological techniques that social engineers will use to manipulate them when they're responding to those social engineering attacks.
Okay, Hanna, do you have any additional thoughts?
Yeah, I actually totally agree with Ian. So what we will see, there will be a lot more needs for training when it comes to the risks and also opportunities when it comes to the kind of how to utilize the AI in a safe and secure way. So I do think the focus will be on that this year.
And Maxime, what are your thoughts?
I think Anna and Jan both presented great points, and phishing, AI used in phishing and deepfakes, for example, is definitely a rising threat. But on top of that, the only thing I know for sure is that AI is evolving really fast at a crazy speed. So what I know is that it's also getting better by the second. So the use cases for it are just exploding. And to be prepared for it also for everyone participating today, I think it means to keep looking and experimenting with it, and not only seeing what the threats are, but also trying to use it as much as possible in our work, and checking it every 3 months, every 6 months, is because it's moving so fast. Maybe systematically thinking before jumping into a new task. How can I complete this task better and faster with AI?
Okay, so next, let's turn the discussion to cybersecurity regulations. After much anticipation, NIS2 and DORA are finally here. These will significantly impact some organizations' security operations. But why are these regulations coming into place now? Will they actually influence security outcomes? And most importantly to everyone here, how do we ensure meaningful compliance in a way that helps reduce organizational risk? So the first question is to Hannah, and that question is why? Could you start us off by explaining some of the key drivers for these tightening regulatory requirements?
Thank you. In general, we could say that the tightening of cybersecurity-related new regulation is driven by a few key factors. First of all, we are seeing a sharp rise in sophisticated cyber threats, including ransomware, for example, supply chain attacks that put critical systems at risk. Secondly, there are vulnerabilities in essential sectors like healthcare, for example, energy and finance, and that can mean that even a single breach can have a widespread consequences, serious consequences. Thirdly, with rapid digital transformation, attack surfaces have expanded, increasing the risks. And finally, there is a growing need for harmonizing standards across regions to close security gaps. The new regulation aims at unifying standards across the EU to ensure a consistent and robust approach, and of course, streamlining, for example, incident reporting. And I could say that regulation is all about ensuring accountability, strengthening resilience, and protecting our increasingly interconnected world. So that's a kind of a summary of the key drivers.
Well, it's an interesting summary. And what are the potential risks of non-compliance, both financial and reputational?
Yeah, from financial perspective, we could say that organizations could face heavy fines and penalties, of course, which can be very substantial. There are also legal costs for investigations, lawsuits, potential settlements, for example. And in addition, non-compliance could result in the loss of business as clients and partners may move to competitors who meet the necessary standards. Then if we think about, for example, reputation, so failing to comply can cause a loss of trust among customers and partners, which can be very hard to rebuild. And of course, a high-profile breach due to non-compliance can also lead to a public reaction and widespread media attention, damaging organizations' brand image, for example. And then, of course, customers may switch to competitors that are seen more secure, and of course, that is resulting in a significant loss of revenue and market share. So if we want to put that in simple terms, non-compliance carries both financial consequences and long-term reputational damage, making compliance essential for any organization, at least in my opinion.
So very interesting stuff there, Hannah. And let's talk about how all this is going to impact someone who's actually delivering a security awareness program today. And I'm going to turn to Ian for this. You have been heavily involved with ensuring your organization was ready for the introduction of NIS2 and DORA. How did you assess your readiness for each regulation?
Well, it was we were sort of ahead of the game when the UK HSE released operational guidance 86 in 2017. So we were kind of evaluating regulation in that sector already. So we were kind of looking at how does NIS2 align to kind of the other frameworks that we're looking at, right? So we didn't want competing standards. We weren't trying to find the common ground so we could try and simplify our internal kind of monitoring and compliance reporting. And obviously just understanding what our obligations are under that new regulation in terms of reporting. And do we fall under like an essential kind of category with more oversight from the regulator, or more in the kind of the important bucket where we've got a little bit more freedom and less kind of intrusion from the regulators. So yeah, really kind of updating governance and defining a kind of roadmap for improvement and to meet the new regulation on the back of sort of work we were already on with. So the timing was quite nice for us.
Okay, thanks for that. Maxime, I'm curious, building off of what Ian just said. So Maxime, you were the head of human risk. You are the head of human risk at Hoxhunt, and you're a former security awareness manager at H&M. Do new regulations change the way you approach security awareness training at all? And if so, how do you align awareness programs with regulatory frameworks?
So first things first, I try to stay aware of new regulations, of course, because organizations need to be compliant to be able to do business. So I check for these regulations and see if they apply to the organization and any new requirements they might bring. But in my opinion, I would say that when it comes to security awareness and training requirements, it's an area where regulations and standards have been kind of lagging behind industry best practices so far. Typically, regulations' high-level objective is to manage the risk, but then the requirements when it comes to certain activities, such as security awareness, is just like train all employees regularly. And that's it, right? We know from decades of research and experience that training and information alone is unlikely to reduce the risk. So when it comes to awareness, I would make sure to, yes, achieve compliance, but also go beyond it. So during my tenure as head of security culture at H&M, we implemented a comprehensive human risk management program where we continuously monitor their top risks, employees' behaviors, and reacted to these risks and behaviors accordingly, deploying the interventions based on what we saw. And that's what I presented to both my managers at H&M, but also to auditors to show our results and how we were monitoring the risk and managing the risk. So because of this, after a few years, we actually decided to remove the annual mandatory security learning, because with the rest of the program, we were able to stay compliant in ways that had a bigger impact in terms of risk. That said, what's interesting with DORA and NIS2 in particular is that they insist on the need to have training schemes tailored to the specific functions of the personnel involved. I think that's the exact vocabulary that is used in DORA. And also that members of the management bodies need to actively maintain up-to-date knowledge and skills about cybersecurity and risk management, so also be trained to that. So I think that shows that regulators have also now integrated the fact that we need differentiated training for different audiences instead of the one-size-fits-all one. And I think that's very positive, not only for these organizations, but for society as a whole.
All right, well, it sounds like as a result of an outcome-driven program that actually reduced risk, you got compliance as a byproduct of that. And I'm sure there was much celebration between the admins and the users and the employees for not having that yearly security training that people tend not to look forward to so much.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I'm curious, from everyone's perspectives, just in general about regulations, do they represent more of a burden on security teams, or are they an opportunity to level up security awareness, behavior, and culture programs? Maybe Hannah, if you want to take this one.
Yeah, thank you. Let's be honest. We know all that there will be a lot of work, but at the end of the day, the developing regulation is vital for the entire society, not only for one or two organizations that are actually running these awareness programs, but it's good for the society. And we need to bear in mind that even though it might feel like a burden when we start, but then again, it will help the society. For example, standardized security frameworks, it will promote accountability and resilience. It helps to build trust by ensuring organizations take proactive measures to protect critical systems and data in our increasingly digital world. So there are a lot of good things. Let's bear that in mind.
All right. And unless anyone has any major predictions or closing thoughts on regulations, we can move on to security culture. So on the topic of security culture, Hannah, I'd love to start with you. In your opinion, what are the key elements of a healthy cybersecurity culture?
Well, yes. If I would need to just point out a couple of things, the most important from my opinion, I would say that it all starts from the leadership. We need leadership commitment with strong support and involvement, starting from the top management to emphasize the importance of cybersecurity and the most important, lead by example. And then one of the elements would be open communications, which basically promotes people to report cybersecurity incidents and discuss about cybersecurity as part of their daily duties. Then about one very kind of central element would be the kind of, there would be awareness program available within the organization, which basically means that it provides consistent and regular education for all employees on cybersecurity best practices, of course, topical threats, ensuring that everyone understands their role in protecting their organization. And also, the program should include, like discussed earlier, role-based training based on the real risks and, of course, based on the training needs of the organization, their specific requirements, business and industry. And if you have all of these elements in place, you have a good chance that you are on the right path of supporting healthy security culture in the future.
Ian, following along those lines, as someone who oversees a strong security culture at Venator, can you give some strategies or tactics of how to keep security top of mind for your workforce?
Yeah, so this was kind of a big area for me when I kind of stepped into this role at Venator. It was developing a good culture of cybersecurity. We've heard the kind of buzzwords around human firewall and humans being the weakest link in the chain, but the wisdom kind of holds true, right? It's everybody's responsibility. So you have to ensure that people have the skills to be able to fulfill that responsibility, or you're going to fail. And the simple answer is train them. But you joked about it earlier. We've all done our annual training and clicked to the end, got the certificate, and parked it for the next year. So your program has to be engaging. It has to be positive and enriching for people, or they're not going to engage if it's a punitive process and they feel like they're being tricked and punished with training. So incentivizing engagement is a big thing. If people participate, it could just be gamifying like a training platform similar to Hoxhunt, or it could just be through leaderboards, simply giving someone a certificate or posting on like a internal forum. These are the top performers or top improvers. And if you've got particularly deep pockets, you can reward people with vouchers, that kind of thing. And all those things are good experiences. But I think people jump straight into phishing simulation and micro training, but you don't have to go down that route straight away. I host lunch and learn sessions with our staff, and I educate people on good cyber practices internally, any current threats or campaigns we're seeing, and we post kind of cyber tips around sites, as well as using more well-known awareness campaign kind of touch points through the year, like Cyber Awareness Month in October or World Internet Safety Day. But tapping into other cultural devices that may already exist in your business really helps too. We have a big process safety culture, being a chemical manufacturer. So we have a framework for delivering learnings from safety incidents or anything kind of that is going to drive an improvement to safe operation of our manufacturing processes. So as cyber moves into kind of more of the OT space, I tap into those safety meetings and kind of spread awareness of cyber threats, any incidents we're seeing in the sector. If another manufacturer is being hit with ransomware, publicize that, but also helping people to stay safe when they're at home as well. Give some more personal tips as well. That kind of professional and personal link isn't often immediately understood by people. But when you start tackling some more kind of personal cyber issues, it ingrains good behaviors outside of the business and gets people more invested in your security program, because it stops being just a work thing that IT handle, and they get more tangible benefit that kind of they can pass on to friends, family, or use in their personal lives.
I love that concept of it being a benefit too, Ian, because in HR, I'm going a little off script here, but like in HR, we've talked in the past about how people get actual wellness benefits from their work. And I think that there is an aspect of cybersecurity training that really maps to that sense of it being a wellness benefit you take home with you and you pass on to your family and your friends, and making it personal, making it rewarding and incentivized like that, I think is just so important, and can't be said loudly enough or frequently enough. So you're doing great work over there. And moving on to Maxime, let's discuss the how. So how do you recommend engaging employees at all levels to take cybersecurity seriously and overcome apathy or resistance to training?
And both Anna and Jan already shared a lot of fantastic points. But when it comes to engaging employees at all levels, these would be my 4 top tips. First, it's about making security positive. In security, we sometimes have a history of being somewhat of a boring, too technical, even scary topic. And in order to get people's attention and motivate them, or get them to stay engaged, we must make security positive. This means focusing on the benefits of security, not only the risk, explaining what people can do instead of what they shouldn't do, and rewarding people for doing the right thing. So gamifying, creating healthy competitions, and perhaps also being, just a bit fun and different from the rest of the corporate communications. The second point is to make security relevant. So one-size-fits-all approaches are doomed, and we must consider the fact that organizations contain a multitude of very different individuals with their own attitudes, their own job goals, and existing set of skills. So to be successful, we must be relevant to each person, and at every level of the organization answer the big question, what's in it for me? And like Jan shared, maybe it's about, can we make this also personal, and explain how people can use that in their personal life. Third point, make it continuous. A security culture is built over the long run, so a training once a year or even once per quarter, I would say, is probably not enough. Initiatives need to be as regular as possible for security to stay top of mind. And lastly, making it easy. The easier you make security, the more likely people will do the right thing. This is about removing the technical jargon, the abbreviations in our communications, but also simplifying what we do, simplifying our security policies, our security processes and tools, and providing them with the help, the tools, the guidelines to make the right decisions.
So how about success stories? Starting with you, Maxime, have you ever seen these principles put into action and so in a way that actually created a success story that's has lessons that you could share with the audience today?
Yeah, I mean, I've used Hoxhunt in the past that uses a lot of these principles, and I've seen a big difference in how all the culture of security changed, and how people also changed their behaviors around time and took the secure decisions more and more. But overall, I think also that, when I think about a strong security culture, I've worked with quite a lot of organizations now, and I noticed that the organization with a strong security culture, they had some elements in common. And the first one, Anna mentioned it, is about leadership. Security being discussed from the very top there. The more leaders talk about security and set the example, the more of the rest of the organization will follow. So I've seen CEOs consistently mentioning security in their all hands meetings. I've seen companies also even putting security as part of their core values, or using safety processes that they had before and just expanding it to security. as Jan mentioned. And then it's also security can become its own brand inside the company. You know, having when there's a good security culture, usually I've also seen that the security team has created a program that is really branded and has its own identity in the company, is recognized because it has its own logo, visual identity, slogan, tone. So they, you know, teams created something that people look forward to because they find it interesting, fun, and perhaps rewarding.
All right, love that. So lastly, on the topic of security culture, I'd like to go around the room and get each of your predictions on what will be the most impactful factor in ensuring a strong security culture this year. And let's go ahead and start off with Hamna.
Yep. I have a magic word, and that is consistency. So that would be my kind of selection for this year. So let's concentrate on consistency. So what it basically means that you need to ensure that you have the basics in place. So start from those, including a security awareness program that includes continuous training and communications, and also make also certain that you measure the maturity of your organization's security awareness and the progress, and make an actionable awareness plan according to the real needs of your organization. And then you just need to implement it. In this way, you will be reassuring that you fully utilize the resources and investments that you are putting in the important initiative to improve the resilience of your organization. So simple as that.
That's great. Any other thoughts from Ian on this? What's the single most important factor?
Yeah, I'm gonna steal a term that I heard on Monday actually when I was speaking to someone from Hoxhunt, and that's psychological safety. It's not, I hadn't heard it before, but it essentially it's something we call it a no blame culture. It's enabling your kind of users to be able to own up to mistakes, right? You know, generating that kind of positive environment where a user can report something to you and say, look, I've clicked this attachment, I've downloaded this, you know, whatever it may be. This is what I've done. So you can take action and there's no fear of reprisal on them. You know, I think that's just going to make whatever other changes you're kind of implementing as part of your security program a lot more effective if people are not afraid to kind of come forward and admit to any kind of potential mishaps in cyberspace.
Absolutely agree. Consistency and psychological safety, great bedrocks of a strong culture. Maxime, do you have another idea or great term to throw out there as well?
I love both of those. Psychological safety is something that I always have on my mind. I think one thing that we haven't mentioned yet, and I can add to that, maybe not specific to creating a positive security culture, but to having successful security awareness and human risk management programs in general. A trend that I'm seeing a lot of, and that I think will continue to grow in 2025, is how data-driven also these programs are becoming. I think it's important that we make decisions not based on feeling and activities that are usually done in those awareness programs, but based on data. Data about what are the top risks in the organization, the incidents that we see the most commonly, the behaviors that we can observe by looking at different tools and creating interventions, making training or whatever other intervention based on this data. And once again, after measuring again, saying, you know, that was the status in the beginning, this is what we've done. And now look at the risk reduction that we've obtained, right? I think we need to have more and more of this to move a bit from the perception that security is something as an entertainer, you know, we're doing training, we're entertaining people, but as a real risk management function. And I really believe in that.
Data is absolutely a powerful thing. It can really help your programs get a lot of approval from the people who are making the decisions, that's for sure. Okay, so this brings us to our closing thoughts. I think that when we take a step back and summarize this conversation, we can agree that the future of security awareness and culture will be defined by developments in AI and relevant regulations. And I want to thank everybody for participating. Thank you so much, Ian, Hannah, Maxime, and best of luck to you.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As Chief Information Security Officer, I get paid to protect my company against cyber attacks. Okay, it's actually pretty cool. But it's getting harder, which is less cool. And those automated awareness programs, it's not helpful. They send like 4 generic phishing emails that most employees ignore.
Oh, hello there.
And when somebody actually clicks, they get forced into embarrassing training programs that feel more like a punishment. Meanwhile, cyber criminals are getting more sophisticated with personalized attacks that pick off my employees like sitting ducks.
Not again.
Especially Bob. So, I tried Hoxhunt. Hoxhunt goes beyond cybersecurity awareness and actually changes behavior, rewarding good clicks and coaching away the bad. Hoxhunt's adaptive learning model trains each employee based on their role, background, and skill level, so simulations feel like real-world attacks. If they fail a simulation, they get a quick training that's actually sort of fun. And when they spot an attack, they get positive reinforcement that locks in the behavior change. Whenever an employee suspects an email might be a scam, Hoxhunt will tell them instantly, providing a dopamine rush that gets your people to click, learn, and protect your company. Here's the magic part. Hoxhunt's adaptive model gets better with every threat reported across the Hoxhunt network, creating a network effect, with millions of people working together to build a human threat detection engine that's more powerful than any platform or process could ever be. Which means these days, the possibilities are endless.